Chicken Noodle Super Bowl. One cold morning, a Viking ship sailed up to everyone's favorite food place, Barbarian Burger. "Welcome to Barbarian Burger. May I take your order?" asked a voice over the sail-through speaker. Everyone in the boat started yelling out orders at the same time. "One at a time," Olaf shouted. No one would wait his turn. And then, suddenly another ship rammed into the Viking boat, almost knocking everyone down. The ship belonged to the famous cheese packers, a group of wild gourds from Wisconsin. They were delivering Gouda cheese to Finland. As the sailors struggled to their feet, the head cheese asked, "Mind if we cut in?" Crash! "We were here first," declared Olaf. "Too bad, we're going," the cheese packers shouted. The cheese packers swarmed onto the Viking ship. They all started pushing and shoving, trying to order their food first. And just when things couldn't get any worse, thud! A huge Wisconsin gourd leaped onto the Viking boat and smashed right through the bottom of the ship. "Oops," said the gourd. The ship began to sink. "Quick, everyone, onto the cheese packer ship," Olaf shouted to his men. So everyone leaped onto the cheese packer ship, including the huge gourd. "Oops," said the gourd. As the cheese packer ship began to sink, the Vikings and cheese packers swam to shore. They thought it couldn't get any worse until they all tried to squeeze through the front door of Barbarian Burger at the same time. The Vikings and cheese packers smashed open the door and stormed the counter. The worker at the register froze in pure terror. Kyle the Kindly, the smallest Viking, hopped onto the counter. "Hold it," he cried. The Vikings and cheese packers came to a screeching halt. "We have to be patient," Lyle said. "That means waiting your turn. It's better than fighting, and God tells us that being patient brings peace." "But does it bring food?" shouted Bjorn. "We want food! We want food!" the warriors chanted. Lyle whispered to the worker, "How long for the burger?" "There's a problem," the worker whispered back. "George the hamburger flipper went home sick." "We want food!" George the hamburger flipper was sick? This was terrible news. If Lyle couldn't get these warriors to wait for a meal, they were going to tear the place apart. "Be patient," Kyle pleaded. He whispered to the worker, "Is there anything you can give us?" The worker muttered, I can make a pretty good bowl of chicken noodle soup." "That's it!" exclaimed Kyle. He turned back to the cheese packers and Vikings. "George the hamburger flipper went home sick, but we're going to get the best chicken noodle soup in the land." "What are we supposed to do while we wait?" shouted Eric. Lyle had to think of something, and fast. The Vikings were already beginning to fight over the mustard packets. Suddenly, Kyle had an idea that would change food history forever. "We could play a game," Lyle announced. He grabbed the only chunk of cheese that hadn't sunk with the ship. "I called the game Food Ball." Thinking fast, Kyle told them the goal of the game was to take turns. "Each team takes turns running the food ball," he said. The cheese packers get 4 tries to carry the food ball across the line. The Vikings can tackle them to stop them from scoring. Then the Vikings get 4 tries to score while the cheese packers try to stop them. This would work out great. Warriors love tackling. "What do we get if we win?" asked Bjorn. Lyle hopped back onto the counter and held a golden spoon bowl up high. "The winning team gets this," he declared. "The Chicken Noodle Super Bowl." "Ooh," cried both teams. Lyle marched back and forth. "Sure," he shouted. "Waiting isn't easy. George the hamburger flipper is homesick, and you're hungry. But when the waiting gets tough, the tough get waiting. So give it all you've got. Get out there and play one for the flipper." With a great shout, everyone charged outside onto the frozen field. And they played the very first food ball game in history. The Vikings won the game by a score of 42-39. But more importantly, both teams found out that the game was a lot of fun when the teams took turns. In fact, if the teams didn't wait their turn, the game wouldn't have worked at all. When the food finally arrived, a surprising thing happened. Even though the Vikings and Cheese Packers were super hungry, everyone waited patiently in line for the chicken noodle soup. And they were all very polite. "After you," Eric said to the big gourd. "No, you first," said the gourd with a grin. Yes, some amazing things happened that day. Olaf, the star of the game, got to have his picture on a cereal box. Sven learned it was fun to do a little dance whenever he scored. And Otter led everyone in a special fight song. "Cheer, cheer, we're glad that you came. We've got the cheese ball. Let's play the game. If the other team is late, that's quite okay, 'cause we've learned to wait." But the most amazing thing of all was that a bunch of wild warriors learned that being patient was more fun than bickering. Now that's something to cheer about.